All right, welcome back to 40 Fit Fu 2.0. 5 years ago, Sifu, Mimi Chan, and I had started 40 Fit Fu. We did over 100 episodes, and I thought it was a good time now that we are halfway through the decade to revisit the episodes, do a quick recap, and share some of the insights gained over the past 5 years and maybe some new thoughts. So, episode 2, which this one is now episode 2.2, was on recovery, was the title. And really, the principles that we discussed back then, they haven't really changed. The importance of being hydrated, the importance of sleep, active recovery, doing things like light mobility work and meditation. But some new thoughts on that is with water is it was very helpful for me to buy one of those gallons of water that had the times on there. So it as you went through, it was like 7 a.m., 9, it was in 2 hour increments. And that really trained me to be able to get enough water because I was definitely not drinking enough in my 20s and 30s and earlier, enough water. Now, do I need a full gallon? No, but about 90 ounces is pretty good, and I know what that means. And I've also prioritized on consuming the water a little bit more earlier in the day, as opposed to spreading it out completely throughout the entire day. In the morning, I drink a lot. Mid afternoon, a little bit more, and then I start tapering off in the evening, and that just prevents the frequent wake ups to go to the bathroom at night. So that's something new. Also, over the past 5 years, as far as the importance of sleep, it has been everywhere. I think a huge part of this is with the work of Dr. Matthew Walker. His book is Why We Sleep. Um, it had some unintended consequences, which it made people really afraid that they weren't getting enough sleep. But really, the content was very good as far as implying and showing you with a lot of scientific data why it's so important that we sleep. And really, one of the big tips on there is that you want to have a consistent sleep schedule. So you want to be sleeping and waking at the same time, even on weekends. Even if you go to sleep late, you should still try to wake up at your normal sleep schedule because that will have a myriad of benefits that you can read about in the book. And in addition, there's Dr. Andrew Huberman, who's super popular on his podcast now. He's spoken extensively on the importance of prioritizing light exposure each morning. So when I wake up, I try to go outside, spend few minutes outside, start seeing the sun rising because that's very beneficial for daytime mood and energy, alertness, and it also helps you fall asleep faster. So, do I prioritize my sleep schedule over the past 5 years? Yes. Do I go to sleep at the best time I could every single day? Probably not, but I do that consciously. I like to wind down a little bit with some stretching, active mobility work, which we also discussed in the episode 5 years ago on recovery. It still has to do with breathing, some light stretching. I go through things with that I know feel good for my body, but really for almost everyone else, which is thoracic thoracic rotation and extension because we're hunched down a lot. Stretching my pecs, of everything that pulls us forward, I try to do stretches there. From sitting down, I stretch a lot of my hip flexors and the quads, get the ankles mobilized. And then I've been doing a lot of where I'm just butt up against the wall, feet up against the wall, and then just sitting there and stretching and breathing. And so I have a little bit of a nighttime routine, which helps there. But really, the principles from 5 years ago are the same. My approach slightly different and tweaked to fit my needs. But that is the recap for 40 Fit Food 2.0 and episode 2.2. Thanks.